Hey, Stacy, what's happening, buddy? It is me. It is DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, the king of bada bing, the master of the diamond cutter, the three-time world champion, WWE Hall of Famer, and of course, founder and CEO of DDP Yoga, better known today as DDPY. Why, Stace? I'll tell you why. Because I want people to stop calling it just yoga. That's why. Hey, I'm good with DDP Yoga. But that Y word, not so good. Okay, listen. This is from Ricky. And he let me know what a huge fan that you've become, even though you weren't back in the day, how he educated you and showed you matches from 96 to 2000. And he told me that you and your beautiful kids, Reagan, and I'm hoping I say this one right, Ridge, R-Y-D-G-E. I'm thinking it's Ridge, but then again, I've never been the best when it came to, growing up dyslexic and reading at a third grade level at the age of 30. That's when I started learning how to read when I was in my 30s. I'm still not the best at, getting all the pronunciations, especially when it comes to people's names. But either way, Rich, that's my nickname for you if it's not your name. All right, man. Listen, I know that you're big DDP fan and Scott Hall fan. And Ricky wanted me to share a couple behind-the-scenes stories of me and Scott. And this is pretty cool. Somebody made me this right here. These aren't actual action figures around here. He made an action figure of back when I was a manager. And Scott, when it was the Diamond Stud. There's no action figure of Diamond Stud or DDP the manager, except for right here. And I was grateful because I was like, wow, it's such a great way to remember, back in those days. So let me tell you how that all happened. I tried to wrestle when I was 23. It didn't work out for me. And ended up getting in the nightclub business. And the booze, the broads, and the party took me in a different direction. And it would be years later running a big club in Fort Myers, Florida, where I ran into Jake the Snake Roberts, and we became drinking buddies. And then it fueled me to literally, be back involved in wrestling. And, different guys came into the club, whether it was, Ted DiBiase or Luke the Bushwhacker or the, Shawn Michaels. I mean, so many guys came through there because if you worked Tampa one night and Miami the other, it was 300 miles from one town to the other. And Fort Myers is right in the middle. And that's, the guys started coming in. So when I decided at 31, I was too old to be a wrestler. I thought, well, I could be a manager. And that's where I developed Diamond Dallas Page. And my wrestlers are from the Diamond Exchange. And, I had Diamond Dolls walk me to the ring. So I ended up getting a gig with the AWA, now defunct because it's all WWE, except for AEW, of course, and Impact. The new ones have come out over the last few years. But back when the AWA was a big force, it was just tailing down when I got the opportunity to come in there and be a manager. And around the same time, Dusty Rhodes had gotten a hold of me and brought me in. This is a great picture of me and, just knocked over some pictures. It's a great picture of me and the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. He was without Dusty Rhodes, there is no Diamond Dallas Page. He really helped me just smarten me up to the business because he really loved my work ethic. And Reagan and Ridge, work ethic. Inside my Hall of Fame ring, inscribed in there, work ethic equals dreams, exclamation point, DDP. You put the work in, you can do things that you would never really believe you could ever do if you just keep putting the work in and believe it in yourself. So that's what I did. And Dusty brought me in. He brought me in as a manager and a color commentator. Now, I'm still running my nightclub because the first 3.5 years that I went after this managing, color commentating goal of mine, I wasn't making any money. It was costing me money to be Diamond Dallas Page, but it was an investment in me. And that's where I met Scott Hall. And back then he had a big walrus mustache and, he was 298 pounds. He looked like that Magnum PI show. That's when he used the name Magnum. He was trying to have that kind of a look. And everybody knew it, and he was so big, and he had gotten 2 chances with WCW, but it didn't pan out. But now we're working in Florida Championship Wrestling, and we became friends. And then when I ended up showing up in WCW, and Dusty was the booker, he brought me in. I was managing the Freebirds. Do I have that picture? No, I don't have it. It's on another table. I was managing the Birds, and what ended up happening is Scott Hall calls me one night, and he's like, "Hey, Dally, I seen you managing those tiny little Freebirds. You look like Andre the Giant as their manager." He's like, "What you need is 6'6", 298 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal to manage. You need to manage me. I could be that idea you came up with years ago, the Diamond Stud." So I was like, "Oh wow, that might work." So I hang up with him and I call up Magnum TA, which was Dusty's right-hand man, and I tell him about me bringing Scott Hall in as the Diamond Stud. And he goes, "Well, let me check out with Dusty and see what he says." So he talks to Dusty, comes back, calls me back. He said, "Listen, D, Dusty's not going to do it. He loves Scott, but he's been here twice and he never got over. He had 2 different times to come up and get on the TV, but, he wasn't ready yet. At this moment in time, he was really on his way to being ready." So I got a call. I'm thinking, oh God, I got to call Scott Hall and tell him they don't want him. Thinking on my feet, I said to Magnum, what if I could change his look? What if I could make him look completely different, like you didn't recognize him? He's like, "All right, well, let me run it by Dusty." And then he went, "You know what? Just have him come. We're not flying him up here. He's got to drive." He drove 7 hours from Orlando, Florida to Atlanta. So I said, I called Scott up and I said, "Listen, Scotty, they're going to pass." And he's like, "Oh man, I'm going to have to end up working at Home Depot." I said, "I got an idea though." He goes, "What's your idea?" I said to Magnum, "What if I could change his look?" And he goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Make him look like somebody completely different." I said, "Here's my idea. The idea is, you got that blondish hair. Why don't you dye it jet black, like Elvis, blue-black color hair, and I'll dress you up in an outfit that'll make you not look like you." Okay, all right, I'll do it. And then later that night, I was watching MTV, and I saw George Michael singing this song, and he's in this patent leather, suit type of look really cool, but he had a 5 o'clock shadow. And I was like, oh my God, that's what Scott needs to do. So I call him up and it's 2 a.m. "Dally, what are you doing? My wife's pregnant, bro. I can't talk right now." I go, "Bro, go out of the room. You got to hear what I got to say here." So, all right. He goes out of the room. He goes, "What? What do you need?" I go, "Bro, this will completely change your look. We got to shave that walrus mustache of yours and let your 5 o'clock shadow come in, like a little scruffy around the chin and jawline and stuff." You're like, "Oh, Dally, I've had this mustache since I was 15. I go, "All the more reason why you should shave it." Oh God, he did not want to do that. But he showed up at my house. He got up at 4 a.m. to get to my house by, I guess it was around 11 o'clock. And when he showed up at my house, he looked like this guy with that good looking, probably one of the best looking guys ever in professional wrestling. with that 5 o'clock shadow, but his hair was like darkish brown. And I go, oh man, you do look completely different without that mustache. I said, now we got to dye the hair the right color. Well, what if it doesn't work? I go, bro, it's going to work. They're not even going to recognize you, especially when we dye your hair. So I took him to the girl who used to put the highlights in my hair, and he ended up, getting in this. I put him in a long rider coat where it was like lamb, and it went down to your knees, right? So it's like a duster type of coat with a tank top on and round sunglasses and Cavariccis, which were back in the 90s were like sort of baggier pants, and very cool looking though, and some slip-ons, and he looked like a completely different person. Like I said, he looked like this guy. There's those shades, as a matter of fact, too. And we got there, no one recognized him. And the WWF, he'd been calling them to try to get them to get an opportunity, and they just never called him back. But the day they saw his debut on television, Pat Patterson from the WWF called them, left him a message on his phone. When he got home from, working our first show together, Pat Patterson said, kid, we saw what your look is. We saw you in the ring. When you're ready and your contract's up, get a hold of us because we want to hire you. So he knew that. So when he got towards the end of his contract, he went to WWF, became Razor Ramon, and the rest is history. But it all started from that. So that's your behind the scenes for Scott Hall. I want to give you guys the program because I don't think you do it. You know about it, but let me give you 30 days on my app. I guarantee you will love this, Stacy. Love this. But you get the whole family doing it because that's really what it's about. Helps the family get tighter. Go to ddpyoga.com // one or the other. Cameo, CAMEO. And you'll get 30 free days on the app. So now you got no excuse not to do it. And I'll tell you, it's going to make you feel unstoppable. When you go on there and you start it, the very first thing that'll come up on the dashboard is a thing called the list. Stacy, do the list. Do everything on the list. Watch the videos and movies with your kids and your husband, and it'll reboot your brain and take you to the next level. So that's what I got for you, girl. I hope you enjoyed it. Ricky, I'd love to hear what Stacy thought. Don't just give me stars. Give me a review. I'd love to hear what she has to say. All right, guys, have an awesome day. And tomorrow, do your DDPY or else. Bang! Have a great day, guys.